Why do we always seem to be part of the focus of all of these things?
It really is fascinating. I always say, I mean, there's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, that age-old term, but somehow there's really a 6 degrees of Hazleton. We are the most culturally relevant small city, I would argue, in America. And I really believe that, because no matter where you go, no matter what you read, somehow Hazleton inserts itself into some of the top discussions in America. We're part of that discussion. It even inspired recently, there was, in the current Atlantic issue, James Fallows, who's been with the Atlantic for really forever, he is coming out with a new book about the reinvention of America. And he said part of what inspired him was a campaign stop with Mitt Romney in 2012. He was in Weatherly, and he stayed in Hazleton, and he saw what was going on here, and it inspired him to go across the country covering places like Hazleton. But the issue is, so many of the presentations of Hazleton are grossly inaccurate. I mean, let's face it, the recent National Geographic magazine profile, for example, was grossly inaccurate, and even the magazine got in semi-trouble recently with a controversial Instagram post that turned out not to be necessarily true. But Hazleton is so complex, and you think about, for example, Cleveland in 1900, 75% of its residents were foreign born. But think about Hazleton. I would love coming back to this statistic. In 1910, there were over 30 languages spoken on the city streets. This has always been a melting pot culture. This has always been a unique, diverse city that has experienced really socioeconomic flux for a long time. But the story's more complicated, and I wish journalists, it's easily accessible from the New York, Philadelphia markets to come and portray Hazleton, but stay a little longer, because the story is more complex.
All right. Always an interesting perspective from Charles. If you would like to know more also about Hazleton, you can always go to the website for the Greater Hazleton Historical Society and Museum.
HazletonHistory.org.
All righty, and you don't forget, they're always taking donations as well. So Charles is back each week to keep us up to date on some of the interesting facts of past, present, and possibly future.